Hello and welcome to All Four United with me, John Foster, MUFC. Got a massive show tonight. Loads of different topics, loads of big topics. We're going to be hearing Adam's views on quite a few things, so really looking forward to it. Please hit the thumbs up if you're going to be excited about this, because I know I have been for quite a few weeks. So we're going to be talking about social media, about how we could potentially help grow the game. We're going to be talking about Casey Stoney, how her season's getting on so far. We're going to be talking about Sky, BBC, and a bit of ITV as well, maybe. So the rumours are regarding the Lionesses. Tobin and Christen, I'd like to hear Adam's views on when they came from America and potentially where they could be next season. We'll have a little talk about that. And also maybe towards the end of the show, we can talk about the rest of the season. So lots to discuss. Already got loads of people in the comments. Over 40 people watching, so thank you very much. Adam, how are you, mate? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Thank you for joining us. It's always good when we get like a journalist on or someone who's works around football, because it's just a completely different opinion. So yeah, thank you for joining us. Natalie, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, unfortunately, Monday I couldn't make. I was disappointed, but working to Adam, speak to Adam a lot. It's helped a lot with everything that we've done, and obviously now we're doing All for United. It's good to have him on, so I'm excited to see his opinions. I think a lot of our opinions are the same, but obviously they probably differ in different places, and he comes at it from a different perspective maybe. So, being like journalist, going to games all the time, so it's going to be a good thing. And just smash the like button, ask the questions, guys. We're just doing it for the people watching, really, isn't it, John?
Yeah, absolutely. It's giving you guys content. We're going to talk about the things that people talk about on Twitter and what comes up in the comments. So it's all good. It's all good. Natalie, you did mention that you missed the Monday show. So before we get introducing Adam, what were your thoughts on the West Ham victory at Old Trafford?
I was sort of like Casey. It was, you didn't need to say anything, and that's what I always say. Like, people think, and I get why people get angry. I get angry, but you think them girls aren't half as angry as us. They're more critical on themselves sometimes than we are. So, like she said, they knew the first half wasn't good enough. Everyone's come out and said it wasn't good enough. But I think it was good that they come out second half. LJ, obviously, everyone knows what I think about LJ. But then I was so happy. That's the loudest, People say a lot of things, but I was so happy. Jackie assist. Jackie, everyone knows about Jackie, but, press, bang. That's what I said. I said it. Just as soon as Jackie put it through, I went bang. Yeah. And bang, and that's what we need, That's what I've waited for. That's what we've all been wanting to see regularly, and I'm just happy now. More confidence in both of them. I mean, Jackie just looked at home in it, different class. And like they've said, Casey said, the club has said, imagine Stretford End. And that's what we would have been in the middle. Oh, bouncing. I've read some pieces just talking about it. Oh, but listen, man, it is what it is. We're moving on, and it's just on to the next. We'll be there again, don't worry, and we'll have magical moments, hopefully.
Yeah, just to touch on that one. I mean, Jackie has to be a contender for one of our players of the season now. With some of the other players going off injured, she's been a consistent one all the way through. And I know there's a couple of other contenders, and we'll discuss it more properly towards the end of the season. But that pass, she didn't make it look really easy. There's 4 defenders in a line. Christen just runs away from a defender, and it was just an easy pass. But she made it look easy. It wasn't easy, but she made it
there
look
was
easy.
2 or 3, There was 2 or 3. There was that one through as well to Lucy Stan, and I thought, again, bang. And it's just, she wasn't like that. Like, shit. It's different. I suppose it's different when you're at LSV to when you're at Old Trafford, because you must think, like, I'm not saying Stanley thinks that, but, it's Old Trafford, man. I mean, God. Yeah. I'm just dreaming, because I'm watching back videos of being there and thinking of my memories. I was at Bayern Munich when it was David Moyes and Vidic scored that header, and I lost my phone that night, and I'm just that same vibe, that same energy I felt when Christen scored. So it's like, shit, if we were there, would have been everything in the air, and because it was her and waiting for her to score, and she scored the goal, and Stretford End, and, it is what it is, isn't it? It's emotion. It's why we love football.
Yeah, and we'll be back there soon, won't we? The weeks of hopefully the weeks are flying by. Not quick enough, but we will get back there. Adam, once again, thank you for joining us. Let's just learn a little bit more about yourself. So if there's people in the comments who don't follow you on Twitter, obviously you're a sports journalist. How do you spend your week? What is it that you do exactly?
Yeah, so I'm unlike some of the others you've had on. I'm freelance, so I don't necessarily have like a specific company that I'm working for or editors and stuff. So I do a bit for the MEN sometimes. I've had pieces in the Independent, one in the Eye today, Yahoo Sport, and I'm also editor at Vavel, where there are a couple of others. I don't know, Brad Cox does a lot of United stuff, and he was also there on Saturday. So it's basically just rolling around the press conferences and the matches and trying to get out to as many as possible in Greater Manchester as I can to cover them. And press conferences have been a bit easier, to be honest, with it being COVID. It's one of the few things that media-wise, there have been a lot more people attending. So the sort of thing, if you got sort of a routine United press conference, you get everyone turning up, whereas normally, with most of the writers being based in London, you wouldn't have had that same extent. And I've even been able to, Joe Montemurro left this week. I was able to quickly jump onto the Arsenal one where I couldn't get down to Boreham Wood in the space of an hour or whatever from Oldham. So that's how I normally spend my week, just a mix of press conferences and others and features and interviews and whatnot.
You mentioned Brad Cox. He's actually been on the show as well a few months ago. Yeah. Seems a bit, real nice guy. You just mentioned press conferences there. Is that like one of the most exciting parts of your job, being able to listen to a manager, whether or not you're a fan of that manager or not? Because to me, that would be like really like the pinnacle of my week, and then obviously writing about it. But do you see it from a different point of view, being more of a neutral and a writer more than maybe a fan? I don't know. Yeah,
to be honest, I really like the interviews where it's one-on-one, sat down. When you're in the full press conference, it can sometimes get a bit, if you've got a deadline you're working to, it all blends into one. You attend the press conference, quickly write it down sort of without thinking, if you get what I mean, and get it sent over, because you've got to have it over within like an hour or whatever for it to be a close of play. Because some of the press conferences, they do stick in the afternoon, which isn't always the nicest when I'm trying to send it over to an editor who's finishing at 5 or whatever. But no, I enjoy the press conferences. Some of the managers give really good insight, but I like the one-on-ones, and I quite enjoy the post-match stuff. I think they're normally my favourite. Is when you see the managers sort of at their rawest, if you like, when they've just had to reflect on a game, whether they've won or lost.
Well, we'll talk a bit about Casey's reactions after the games as well, because I know that there's rival fans that want to talk about that as well, that do talk about that. So I like to bring that in. But before we get into that, we just mentioned Old Trafford. Natalie just mentioned that game there and talked very passionately about that game at Old Trafford, fans not being there. What were your thoughts on that, Adam, when it came out, the fact that it was going to be behind closed doors?
I was shocked, to be honest. I'd had a shift planned in for some of the work, because I wasn't planning to that there were going to be such big games that weekend. I didn't really see myself the point of playing such a big game at Old Trafford when there are no fans there. I thought, maybe waited until having the sort of spectacle event like the North London derby at Spurs, where they got nearly 40,000. You probably get more than that at Old Trafford. It all seemed a little bit weird, but actually Casey in the post-match said it, that for her it's just the sake of when she gets the chance of to play on a bigger pitch like this, she doesn't care. It's just the opportunity to play there in a good facility, because behind closed doors everywhere is the same. Nowhere's got fans. So I'm a bit of both, really. I would have liked to see it left for when fans are back, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it is, and I kind of understand what people are saying about having it as a bit of a practice run, bit of a trial run for when it does eventually happen. I do understand that, but as the first match at Old Trafford, it did seem like a bit of a waste. But I do kind of see it. That's from a selfish point of view, from a fan's point of view, from a player's point of view, and Casey's point of view, and also boosting that morale. We're on a bit of a low at the moment, so I can kind of see from her point of view, definitely. Natalie, obviously you share similar thoughts to Adam. But we talk about the TV coverage as well. So not only was it at Old Trafford with no fans, but until Casey started flexing the muscles a little bit and spoke about it, it almost would have shown on any kind of TV, was it?
And I think it's because it's such a late in the day thing that United did. I mean, they did it. It is what it is. Like what Adam says, I know she's sort of painted it as like dress rehearsal, but it's still painful. But I think she said dress rehearsal just to make everyone sort of feel a bit better about it. But I see it from her point, as in she's not going to turn it away. Who knows? Press even said, it's special for the ones that have been there longer than her. You know what I'm saying? So, those ones that, Jane Ross got a run out, Jess got a run out, everyone sort of got a run out in the end. We were winning 2-0. It's just brought everyone on. And I think no one had anything to say about the subs because it's like fair play. It's Old Trafford, It is unfortunate. It makes you think, like, why didn't they do the derby or something last year? But I suppose they never foreseen the COVID happening, and they probably thought by the time we play City again or whatever, by the time in the middle of the season we'll have fans back. I think a lot of people probably expected it to be back. I'm looking at, like, say, for example, the Everton game right at the end. It's like 2 weeks between fans coming back and that game, so it's like it's not going to happen. But for example, they probably did see a couple of games towards the end happening with fans, so that could have been a time. But then I think these announcements have come out, and they just thought, we want it now. I mean, the girls on the cover of our thing, for me, they made a massive impact. I'm not saying they're the reason we're having it, but I think everything that's happened with Tobin, with Christen, with shirt sales, with commercial, with all this kind of thing that's happened with them, maybe that's sort of like pushed them along a bit. I'm speaking as a fan now. Adam's saying it as a journalist, Casey's saying it as a manager.
Yeah.
Players are saying it how they're feeling. I'm thinking we've been there 2018, the first game I ever went to, Reading. I never ever watched women's football before. And we were all there, 5,000 of us. Then we were there again, first game, highest ever goal scoring, against Villa, 12-0. We went to Durham. I didn't go London Bees, but I know people who went to London Bees. I know, Lewisham, Brighton away at 11, at 12 o'clock on a FA Cup final. It's all these games, and you're thinking, Old Trafford, let's make it, and it would have been amazing, but no chance that they're not going to do it again. So it is. Accept it.
Yeah. I was going to ask Adam that. I mean, what do you think the chances of it going to be like another game at Old Trafford next season? Because some of the other big teams have obviously had them last season. We never got a chance to have it last season. This season, in my opinion, doesn't really count. So maybe next season, do you think?
Yeah, I think the chances are quite high of it happening again. The players seem to enjoy it. The club really, to be honest, put a big effort into it. They did a lot behind the scenes. There were special things in the changing rooms, those sort of things. And quite a few of the United directors were there watching the game. Now, I think for them, if they enjoyed that occasion behind closed doors, they'd be wanting the full 45,000 no matter what. So I think it definitely will happen because it's proven now that the players can do it and stuff. In case he's done it, now what they want is to follow it up with fans, and I think they've been pretty clear that's going to happen, which will be good because City have done it, West Ham have done it, Spurs have done it, Chelsea have done it. They've probably Everton have done it yet behind closed doors, even though they tried to do it not behind closed doors and had it rained off, and Villa have done it as well. So I think it's only a matter of time before we see it at United with fans.
I think as well, what Casey sort of said about it, we don't want to do it with fans and just, meet the attendance. We want to break the attendance. I think the attendance is something like 34 or maybe, Adam, it might be 40 something. But for me, I'm thinking, John Fry saying, I'm thinking 50, 60, 51,000. If we're going to get that 50 mark, that's my aim. That's what I'm thinking, and I don't see why we can't.
So I was just going to say, to get that, Man United need to do a hell of a lot. Don't they? They need to promote it. They need to put them buses on. Because they need to do everything they can, or whatever they need to do to get people all over. Sorry, Adam, just carry on. Sorry.
I definitely think that a game at Old Trafford will break the attendance record. I think it was something like 38,746. I'm only guessing that because I know I've read the highlights, the headlines where it got repeated all the time when Spurs played last weekend. But I think it will, because Old Trafford is perfect for getting to anyway. You've got trains and trams. It's great for travel. United are a very big club, of course. I think compared to the rest, the biggest in the country, there's no doubt about that. And I think if you did it for the likes of a Manchester derby, you get the people there and they'd be wanting to go, because unlike last year where you had the Manchester derby at the Etihad, women's football's come on so much in the past 2 years. It was already a massive growth, but not just since the World Cup, since last year's season, and you've seen like the additional fans off the pitch this year, just how massive the attention's grown. From my point of view, I can say like the media attention at domestic games, the number of people that have been in press boxes and stuff who are new, it is great to see. And like your mainstream people coming over and covering it, the likes of Rob Harris for the Associated Press, who's one of the big ones, turning up to cover a Casey Stoney press conference, which you wouldn't see for a big American news agency. So yeah, I think United would comfortably break that. I think the 50,000 barrier would probably be a decent mark for them to aim for.
That would be amazing, and hopefully, Natalie, we can do like a block booking. So obviously, all us lot can stand together like we did at the Etihad, and as best as we can. Definitely.
John, I've just said, Stretford End, mate, rocking, bouncing. That's the way we want it. We want it. We don't want to go there and just sit down like we weren't sitting down at the Etihad. I know there was that away end that we had for the Etihad, but we weren't sitting down. I didn't want to sit down. I don't sit down anywhere. You know what I'm saying? So why am I going to sit down at Old Trafford when I never sat down there since I was 14? I'm going to be up, standing, jumping. Yeah. Trying to get it the same way. And I can see a lot of people that don't go and watch the women usually at Lee, but Old Trafford's on the doorstep. Old Trafford's a tram ride that come week in, week out, do it on an international break again. I can see a lot of, the Red Army and all that kind of thing coming out for it, because why wouldn't you? It's Man United, it's the badge, it's a game at Old Trafford. Let's go out the same way and support them and give them a good atmosphere always at Old Trafford.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. There's comments, questions about Preston Heath. We'll talk about that one towards the end of the show. Adam, you also mentioned about social media getting bigger, Man United fans, so we'll talk about that one shortly as well. But just before we jump onto them points, just wanted to know your thoughts on Casey Stoney, how she's doing at the club, and also what your vibe is about Casey Stoney in press conferences, or if ever you've seen him in person, just like the aura that she gives off.
Yeah, I think Casey's a really good manager who can go far. It's still thinking that she's in her third season or whatever of being a manager, and has already got United up to challenging for the Champions League. It's incredible how well she's done, and you can tell the players like her. She likes the players, and she's got the backing of the club, which is important. From a press conference point of view, I'll be honest, I really like Casey Stoney's press conferences. Out of the managers who I regularly cover, there are a couple who can be a bit hit and miss quotes wise and stuff, but Casey is always very much will just answer a question head on with her own views, whereas you can tell when some may be holding back or say something and slightly pedal back, and Casey will just give you something. I remember when it was, for example, like the Rainbow Laces thing, while the Sky reporters asked something, I got 600 words in the quotes that Casey just gave as the response. That was an article in itself from one question, and she speaks really well, speaks her own opinions, whereas as some don't. There are others like Joe Montemurro, who's leaving. Will be a really shame to leave, because he's one of those who for the media really speaks well. He's happy to joke with the media as well and stuff, and gives off sort of like a good aura, whereas there are others I'm not going to go through and list them where you can tell that they're very much trying to toe a line, if you like, and not be sort of controversial at times, or not necessarily give anything. Whereas I'd rather just have something of substance to run with it. It's not like in the men's game where I think the media training, you can tell it definitely is there for some and not for others. And, it's not like in the men's game, you've not got your big tabloid journalists covering it every week who are, sticking a headline on a back page from one quote or whatever. It's really everyone who's covered it is doing it in depth. You're not getting your words twisted, those sort of things. Yeah. So Casey can be free to sort of talk, and I really like her as a manager to do the press conferences of.
I agree. Nat, obviously, you can have your say in a second, but for me, I've been trying to learn a bit more about what other fans think of Casey. So I've been watching other people's podcasts who don't support Man United, and the vibe I'm getting from them at the moment is something that I don't agree with, but they're saying that she's very, because you mentioned the controversial, being controversial and stuff, especially after the games, some of the fans are saying that she moans a lot, whereas me, I'm the opposite. I think, to me, she's the only one that's got the guts to say what everybody else is thinking. And I think the longer that she's going on now, she's realising that she's got a bit more pull, she's got a bit more say, and she's saying it. And for me, I think more people should speak up. I understand there might be consequences, but to me, that's not a moan. I think she's voicing what she's saying. But go on, Natalie.
Yeah, man, I love it. Like, for example, that Dubai gate, she just came out and just said it, bang, not good enough. I'm not sure if Adam was on that one, but, she said, I let them go and it was my mistake and I apologise. And then you see others sort of, oh, well, that's been and gone now. Let's forget about it. No. Even talking about, like, pitches and games being postponed and all this kind of thing, it's true. Everything she says is true. The only time, and I've said it on this channel, that I thought it's not the one, was when the Arsenal game, talking about the ref. Well, it was the one in that, refs aren't good enough, this and that. And then what we're seeing since, and this is why I don't like it, John. 2 red cards in 2 games. But let's not beat around the bush. They were red cards. And, maybe last year, even 2018 when I was watching, you'd never see a player get a yellow card and get a second yellow. Even no matter what channel they did, I've very, 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 very rare I've seen a player get 2 yellow cards. And yet the last 2 matches we've had it, and maybe that's, like you say, her pull, her influence, her, way of words, knowing that, people are going to back her up on social. People, the club back her up. She can, like Adam said, she can say what she wants. So I don't know what it is. People start saying, "Oh, like Fergie buying the refs." Cool, say it. That's what I'm saying. It's that way, isn't it? It's like that's what I love. That kind of just that swag, man. And she's saying it as it is, and people don't like it, and is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just finishing off on the Casey. How do you think the season's going so far? Obviously, it started off really, really well, and then a few fans got disappointed because we saw first place at our site at one point, and now we're battling for 4th. Would you kind of see like 3rd, 4th as where we deserve to be at the moment?
Yeah, I'd say 3rd was probably the deserved position at the start. I think there were some very strong performances at the start, but you always had an inkling that something, you to perform and get first in the WSL, like the title battle will go so close between Chelsea and Man City this year, and it'll really be who's lost the least out of 2 or 3 points. So I think it's more worth looking at the WSL in sort of like blocks of United are definitely in that top floor block, which are quite far away from the ones who are below them. And she's performing very well. Marginal results against others, and you'd be top. But I think 3rd is a really good job. And if Champions League qualification happens, which will be difficult because of the goal difference and stuff, and Arsenal needing to slip up, but it could happen. If Champions League qualification does happen, then that would be massive for United, and really shows how well she's done, because she's got a very good job out of the team. At the same time as when the results faltered a little bit, there've been so many injuries that she's had to contest with. A couple of other clubs have had them, but maybe not to the same extent. Only really Arsenal, who had it really bad at the start of the season. I think Arsenal and United, who are both battling for that third European squad, have been ones where, the managers have had to think on the feet and create a completely new team and a new system and stuff, because what you had, Honor came in, did really well first couple of games, and then got herself injured on a Spain camp. You had Tobin's injured, Christen was injured for a bit, Lauren James has been injured. So there's been so much changing. Just when you think, okay, things are really starting to get going, someone's getting the knock. Leah Galton as well. I thought she was a really big miss on Saturday, but Casey's done a brilliant job.
Yeah, do you want to touch on that one, Natalie?
Injuries, squad depth. I don't know, and whether next season add more players in and it will be different. She's already said the injuries aren't good enough. We shouldn't have as many injuries as we've had. They're the most injuries she's ever had in a season. Some things, I was very frustrated about the Arsenal game. Could have been a lot better, regardless of injuries. But it's. I do like how she said before that Arsenal game, again, saying it as it is. Whether she's pandering to fans or what, or moaning or whatever, I don't care. She sort of said it's on me. I'm the manager. I make the decisions. I pick the team, etc. I do the tactics, and if we don't get third this year, then I failed. And I think good on you for saying that, because I don't know, at the start of the season I wouldn't have said it was failure, but I think sitting top for so long and being where we were going into January, and she even says it, the Reading game, that's the one that cost us a point there, and we would have done it. And fair enough, losing to City and stuff, losing to Chelsea. To be fair, Arsenal, I think we could have won it. There's enough chances there to win it, enough chances there to come away with a point. Conceding very early, it's not good enough. But I suppose the way I sort of saw Siobhan Chamberlain on MUTV, and I know you talked about MU Women's Show, but she sort of said we need to look at it like last year we finished fourth, but we were like 10, 20 points away from third. This year, if it all goes and whatever, we'll finish fourth, but we'll be level on points. And that's progress, and she's right, it is. But it's still going to hurt, because even the men, we thought we were going to win it, and we were top for longer than the men, and we got from about October. And Tobin, losing her, losing Leslie was bad, and God, if Leslie was in now, but losing Tobin, that was just, in a way, sort of like the beginning of not the beginning of the end, but that's what it sort of felt like. And then we've obviously gone on the run that we've gone on. But we need to win now. There's for me, this is the hardest game now since Arsenal, really. People might go, they just got beat by Everton, but no, Brighton are a very, very good team. We've gone to Brighton twice. Once they've got a point out of us, once we beat them, but only in the last few minutes. So, anyone thinking, we're going to go Brighton and win just because Everton have done it. No. This is a massive game, and it's tense. It's not a foregone conclusion, and I don't want any fans to be thinking it's sort of 3 points, because I'm sure Casey and the team won't be thinking like that anyway.
I think it's a good debate to have at the end of the season if we do finish third or fourth, regarding that word failure. Because at the moment, I would be saying more of disappointment. I agree with what you said about what Siobhan said. I don't know how you can gain that many points and still say a season's a failure. But I know a lot of people will say that because of where we've come from, over December, January time. But yeah, I do think that it's definitely worth mentioning towards the end of the season where we know where we are. And one other point on that, which is kind of contradicting in what Casey Stoney did say, I think he might have even been on the same press conference or the same video. She did say that we're a year ahead of schedule when it comes to her 5 or 6 year plan. But on the flip side to that, she said if we don't get Champions League, it will be classed as a failure. So if we're a year of where we should be, I don't know exactly what she meant by that.
I think she means it in terms of we've sat top for so long.
Yeah.
to go from first to fourth is failure. You know what I'm saying? Not in a.
I can understand that.
We're a year ahead in terms of sitting top.
Yeah.
So
which makes sense.
when we were last. Yeah, but then would Emma Hayes accept finishing first to fourth? Would Man City accept it? So you need to. I see both sides anyway. We're a year ahead. We've got better, but can't go from first to fourth and say, "Oh, we've had a great season."
Yeah. Welcome back, Adam. It's your turn. Just while you're sorting yourself out there, if anybody missed the announcement that we gave on Monday's match reaction show, this channel's expanding. So currently we do 2 live shows a week and 2 Twitter lives as well. We're basically going to go to 4 shows a week on YouTube. So the flagship show will still be on this channel, but we are going to get a brand new All For United account purely for the women's team, where all of our videos, whenever we want to do them, whether it be live, pre-recorded, will go on a separate channel. So I'm just keep on going to mention this throughout the next couple of weeks, so everyone can be reminded that you need to subscribe to our new channel when we've got the details, because we'd hate for you to miss out and just watch the one show when we'll be creating content every 4 or 5 times a week, plus little videos like half-time analysis or a bit of a talk before the match when we've got the starting 11, all these little things. So please just bear that in mind in the next week or 2. Please come over to our other channel as well, because it's just going to be purely women's team. It's not going to be the men's team as well. Do you want to just touch on that, Nat? I mean, just we're going to talk about social media next, just about how far it's grown. Not necessarily us, just the need for content.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I remember the reason why I started to go to every football game, the reason why I got so passionate about the women in a way was I went, someone told me to come, I enjoyed it, I went to the next game, but I then had a wedding, couldn't go to the game, and I thought, right, well, I'll just watch it on MUTV, I'll just catch up on Twitter. This is in 2018, switch my Twitter on, switch MUTV, nothing anywhere. And I thought, what is this? I can't live like this. How can you support a team not seeing anything? And when I say anything, it was nothing. Maybe they scored, and I thought, what? And it was just a half time. It's 0-0, and actually, to be fair, it was 0-0 at the end. It was Man United versus Durham, but there was nothing. There was no chance. Apparently, Katie Zellum had a penalty and it was missed, but there was no talk of that until the end. And I thought, I can't go through life like this. So I started going to every game. You've said it, John. I reach out to everyone, and that's when we started to post. We, when I say we, I mean Barmy Army. We had our own YouTube, we had our own Twitter account, and we decided to do live tweeting. And actually, people like Molly, who's been on the show, started to reach out to what's happened at the game, and that's just what's led to more people following the Barmy Army, more people getting interested. What's happening? People message me and say, I don't watch it, but I follow it through your Twitter. And sometimes, you know what? I don't watch the men's team, but you can look on Twitter and you can see what's going on because there's regular live content, so you know what happened in the game just through that. And now I think we're seeing with the women's team, they're tweeting more about it, they're posting after match analysis, they're posting when someone scored, they're posting good chances. That was never there before, and I think it's just people doing it ourselves, but asking for it. Demanding it. This is what we want, and it's just through demand. People coming up to me, John, people coming up to you, saying they want to talk about different things. Different things always happening in the women's game, and we want to give our opinions on it. We want to give our opinions on. We want to hear what everyone's saying in the comments, everyone's saying on Twitter. So for me, another show, it's going to be a lot more content. We've got good content coming up in the summer, and we're just talking about things now and what we're going to do in the next few weeks, but still going to be content in the summer. Our transfer shows did really well in the January, so I don't think it's not going to be big again, and I'm excited. This is what the women deserve, man. This is what they've always deserved.
I then was going to bring you in on this one then. So a simple question, just how powerful do you think the fans' voices are on social media when it comes to growing the game, growing women's football?
Massive, because the club's own social media and stuff, it's all very commercial, all very polished, and really, I sort of struggle to see away sometimes as a fan who goes to games thinking, is it club posts that really draw me in to go and buy a ticket to watch? I may be watching games as neutrals because I'd be at every Oldham game, if not watching it as a fan. But I go to neutral games because I've seen, my mates and stuff post on Twitter and the likes, and I think, you know what, they're going, I'll go as well, or I'll try it out. And I think that word of mouth that you can get on social media is massive for growing it and building the sort of the engaged community around it. Whereas with clubs, there isn't any sort of engagement. It's, here's 2 posts a day, some maybe a little bit of comments on the bottom, but no sort of back and forth, which I think it really, really gives you. And, there are United fans all across the globe, but I definitely think that social media will have driven some of them to decide to say, you know what, it's a Sunday, let's go to Lee and watch the game instead of staying at home and watching it on the FA Player. So I think it is massively important, the fans doing their own stuff and having those sort of engaged communities there, because without it, it's difficult to see a way to really grow it without, with the way that the clubs are still doing it, it doesn't necessarily have that sort of emotion and the passion to it, which is what really draws so many in.
Are you ever guided by what articles you write or what questions you ask in press conferences by what fans talk about on Twitter? Because part of me would think to myself, right, if I need to sell an article or if I need to get views, I need to think to myself, right, who's going to read these articles? And obviously it's going to be me and Nat and everybody else. So do you ever look at like Twitter and think to yourself, right, this is what's the talking point, let's focus on this?
100%, because if I want to go with what fans are going to be interested in, to be honest. I think, even if you're chatting to an editor and you see, well, actually fans are really wanting this sort of thing, then it's going to be an article that performs well. And also, there's no point necessarily writing about a topic if it's something no one cares about. I can write a long read on something that's got to get 10 views, or I can write about something that all the fans want to know about and get that. But in terms of the others that I do back and forth as well, I know, I'm not sure if I've ever done it with United, but I have in the past, sort of not been sure, I had a hectic week, messaged someone I know who's a City Women fan and said, are there any burning questions that you as a fan think, right, I should go and ask Gareth on the Friday press conference? And it sort of gives you that different angle, even if it's only, as a fan, you're so engrossed in the club that you notice things that us as journalists don't, because I've got to watch 12.
Yeah.
And that's just in the WSL stuff that I do. If I'm watching abroad, if I'm watching men's, so hard to split yourself across. Whereas a United fan will watch the men's team and the women's team and watch them religiously. I'm the same. I've had people in the past who I know who do Oldham stuff, so sort of come up to me and say, right, okay, what do you think we should be doing? Because you watch every single one in detail and you have your strong opinions, and what other fans want as well. There are other groups you're chatting to each other. So it's massive from a journalist point of view to see what your audience actually wants. And social media helps because you can actually have that audience there and see it. I don't know how pre-social media, how you would have really gauged a reaction to an article, because, it would have got out in print and you wouldn't have heard anything. I was listening to a podcast where it was the sort of same thing. Whereas now you post something and within 30 seconds, you've got someone commenting or sending you a DM, which is great to have that sort of back and forth and tailor your things to what people want.
I think that's a great, honest answer, and it's one that I definitely, really happy to hear that. And if ever you want to know what Man United fans think, just tune into our channel. 3 or 4 videos a week. You'll soon know what we're talking about, and we give honest opinions, but also positive opinions. 9 times out of 10 will be positive. Maybe the 1 time out of 10 will be maybe a bit more critical or something, or especially like I'm talking about Dubai now, or referees or the FA and things like that. But generally 9 times out of 10, I don't know if that's just because we're having a good journey at the moment as a Man United fan, but we are very positive. But we also try and improve the game as well, not just talk about Man United, but we do also talk about grassroots, we talk about academies. We do try and fill as many shows as we can, a variety of topics. Nat, do you want to finish up on this subject before we talk about Sky and BBC deal?
Oh yeah, 100%. Like Adam's pieces, Molly's pieces, Rich pieces, Em's pieces. I'm always commenting on them and saying, this is what I think of this is what I think. And then 2 or 3 people say I agree, or this and that, and I know that Emma Sanders is really good. She puts it out, the little clippets. You know, Casey has said this, and she'll say Casey on injuries, and it'll be so many words, you know, and that, her tweets back must bang, because she says to me, I turn it off after I've posted it, because it just, she knows, because then everyone's talking and everyone's going mad, everyone's going on there. And, you know, like Adams just said, what do the fans want to know? Well, I know we're going to talk about it, but, you know, whoever the first who breaks the Tobin and Christen news, that's going to explode, because when it exploded in the summer that they were potentially signing, and then people were talking about for weeks, and it wasn't like, it was a good couple of months before they actually signed, you know, so it generates that chat, just little things. And I know we've talked about it, and I know people have commented on it, like our transfer shows, they love him, and I think we're like one of the, you know, maybe a small minority, maybe more fans now are more excited for it, but our fans just love the transfer window. So any player that is linked to Man United, we want to know. We want to know everything about it. We want to know where they play. We want to know this. We want to know when. You know what I'm saying? And anything about that bangs for Man United. That's what I'd definitely say.
Definitely, yeah. And people in the comments have already mentioned transfer news today. We're going to move on. We'll talk a little bit about the BBC and the Sky deal. So Adam, I mean, did you kind of see this one coming? I think Sky's been rumoured for a little while, but did you kind of see that one coming like next season, or maybe a little bit further down the line?
Yeah, I think sometime like November time, Tom Gary originally broke the story. And to be honest, to get that so early, to, you know, with the intricacies of it will be Sky Sports for a certain number of games, and BBC will have it on BBC 1 and 2. Like that's incredible work from Tom to get that up, and he's had quite a few, and that was great news. But to see the actual, you know, the stuff about the deal that I have, it is really good, because I give the example of, you know, with the BBC, how many fans will be sat at home on a Sunday, they're not really sure what to do. Doesn't matter if they're United fans or whatever. You see football matches on, or any sort of sport is on BBC 1 or BBC 2, and you'll stick it on because there is nothing better on at that time, even if you're not a fan, and it'll convert you to getting it, and it really will get the eyeballs on it, it being free to air. I know when the World Cup is on, it did so well, and I had people who I know don't regularly watch it, but they'll be watching the small World Cup games at, you know, midday on a Monday, because it's football, free to watch anytime, and they'll watch anything. I remember I was on holiday and watched some of the under-19 World Cup. I think I watched one of the North Korea games in the under-19 World Cup. Now I wasn't covering it or anything, but it's football on in the background for free, and I will watch it. So I think that's massive, and the quality that Sky will bring is also something really good to have. The professionalism. I've really liked what BT Sport have done for the Champions League stuff. They've gone full out with the studio and everything. But Sky are really good, because if you even look at, I'd say it's probably better not to compare it to Sky's Premier League coverage, but I watch a lot of Rugby League on Sky and a lot of the EFL stuff on Sky, and they're both really well done, with presenters getting on people who are really knowledgeable to talk about it, you know, the build-up and everything, and it makes for a proper good spectacle. And it's the same, as I said, with BBC. If you've got Sky, you'll be looking on there midday, just thinking, you know, I'm a football fan, I want to watch some football. It's the same as that. I guess you've been similar over lockdown, but I've found myself watching some football matches which I would not have watched a long time ago, that have just because it's been what's been on BT or Sky. Yeah. So I'm the same. I think I've got hooked into the A-League from that in Australia, because it's on in the mornings. But it'll be massive, the professionalism that they bring to it, because there will still be games on the FA Player, but currently having that red button stuff, it's all right, but it's a bit of a pain to get the red button on. Or even, you know, BT's is fine, but BT are nowhere near as big as Sky when it comes to football. No one really has ever got near to Sky. ITV Digital tried their hardest to do it, and it killed them as a company, and killed a couple of football clubs in in the mid 2000s. So Sky is where you want to be for the eyes of sports fans across the country. BT don't necessarily have that pull. It's why they don't have as many games. But it is a massive deal. Financially, it's good as well. I think there's been a lot hailing it as like the biggest thing, financially that's come about. And I think it's all right. The money's there, and it sounds quite good when you say that you've got a £21 million deal. But when you actually split that up across, all the clubs over the 3 years and stuff, it works out, you might get a 500 grand a year, which is good for some, but, got the likes of, I'm going off the top of my head here with accounts numbers, but I think Brighton in 2019-20 lost 1.9 million just in the year. So it'll take out a chunk of that, but it's not going to make them profitable overnight. But the additional people who come in who are watching it on Sky and thinking, I want my brand to be on that Sky Sports advertising board, will really help. It's not just got to be that one. It'll be everything else that comes with it being on Sky and BT, and people wanting their brands and stuff to be associated with a high-level product.
Yeah, everything that you said there, I agree with. And there's a comment on screen that I've left there regarding once people watch the game, they'll hopefully be hooked and then eventually start coming to stadiums. That's my hope. Now, we do know that there are negatives to it as well, and we've covered some of the negatives, especially regarding fans. Some of the kick-off times, travelling away to games could be a bit awkward as well. But Adam, have you heard much rumblings about some of the negative things? How's it coming across in the media? Is it more positive than negative? Obviously, could be from myself. You sound really positive about it, but has there been many negative people about it at all?
Yeah, when Tom Garry again originally put a piece, he had a nice little breakdown of proposed kickoff times, and I don't get the 11:30 Saturdays. I'm not a fan of it. I wasn't even a fan of it for getting to Old Trafford, because even it's not accessible for away fans, but for a lot of home fans still, it's not going to be the nicest if you're making the trek over to Lee Sports Village, because of how big the reach of Manchester United is to get there for, really going to be wanting to get there for 10:30 sort of thing. It's not going to be a good idea, and I hope that doesn't go ahead. But the rest of it has been sort of okay, because it's got the same problem that others will have of you've got to have the matches and not have them clashing with the men's. Because Sky are adding another 44 games a year onto their Sky Sports Premier League and Sky Sports Football channels as well, which I was surprised of, to be honest, when the press release came through the night before the deal was announced. And I haven't, heard lots of off the record stuff, which I know others have, but it came through and, was explicit of X number of games are going to be on the 2 flagship Sky channels, which I was surprised of, because Sky have so many channels. I thought, well, they might do what they do with some other sports like rugby league, and I think, well, they might stick it on Sky Sports Mix or whatever, but to have it on those, which straight away you flick on Sky, you go to Sky Sports Premier League, is massive. There are the drawbacks. The fans' kick-off times, I don't want to see the 11:30 stay. I quite like the Friday nights, as long as it's, sort of taken into consideration that hopefully, not sticking the Friday night as a massive journey for away fans. I think the Manchester Derby on BT Sport was a good example of how Friday night can work, and if you can sort of market a Friday night as Friday night women's football, because I don't think we have any other Friday night sports in the country. It's the one sort of slot that you can have as your own. But no, Saturday 11:30, I didn't like it for covering at Old Trafford, and I don't want that one to stay. That's the one real big negative if it stays. I don't think it will. Hopefully, if people see that when they go through the rounds, they try and find some sort of alternative. But it's a difficult job with the scheduling. There's so much on TV nowadays, and you've got limited number of crews and airtime, whatever.
Go on, Nat. Obviously, Adam's mentioned a lot of things that you mentioned when you first heard the news. Do you just want to reiterate some of those points?
Yeah, 11:30 isn't. Even though Adam's just saying he's in Oldham and he went over to Old Trafford, it's, imagine if there was fans and we're at a stage with women's football. Let's make it as accessible, and yeah, it's going on telly. It's fantastic, but you want to make it accessible for the fans. You want more fans in the grounds. So for me, 11:30 doesn't help that. I agree about the 6 on a Friday. I think it'd be great local. I think if we played Everton, if we played City, if Liverpool come over, even go as far as even saying like Birmingham. But if you start doing, Brighton or Arsenal, even a London game, I think it's too far for away fans. But I mean, we've seen it. They did try it once, didn't they, for the men's team? And I think we played Southampton, and that, they just did it. And I don't want it to get to that point where it's just like, fans, you just got to take it. I want it to be sort of a joint thing. I do want them to be thought of. But, if you've got a big game and it's coming out, Man United, Arsenal was at 6:30. It was great on the telly, but I can just think of us, like, we'd all have to take a day's leave, to do it. And I'd do it, but I don't want them to get to the point where they just think, oh, well, fans will do it. It doesn't matter. I want them to be like, no, we need to really grow this game. We need to grow away sport just as much as home. It doesn't matter just because your home ground might be full. Away fans matter. And, it's a big thing in the Premier League where, 20 is plenty and all those kind of campaigns. And I think we need to realise in women's football that it's not just home fans that go to these games. People travel the country for their women's team, and it's something that we should cherish, enjoy, and grow, and not stifle. Just to fill a stadium full of home fans, it's not what we want to see, in my opinion. I'd always want to see away fans at LSV or definitely away fans for supporting Man United women. It's something that we've always done, so I wouldn't want it to be stopped on the basis of these kind of kick-off times.
There's a comment in the comments about Bo Risa. Now, I know, Adam, you was one of the first ones to tweet about this, so I'm pretty sure that as soon as you do get any information, if you have got anything, you'll tweet about it, won't you? So what is your socials in case anybody does want to get in touch with you? If someone wants to find you on Twitter, how can they do that?
Yeah, it's at Adam G Millington on Twitter, and I'll try my hardest. I had a Norwegian mate of mine who sort of told me straight away that they'd had this Bo Risa news coming in, because for those in Norway it was a big thing. No idea what's happened, but there's also a fact of, I'm trying to think, last summer I bet the earliest transfer deal to be broken were the 3 English players to Man City, and that must have been broken in June. And I think the final of them, what Alex Greenwood didn't sign until first week of September or whatever. So who knows? It could be a case of deal done, signing in August, and they just waited a long time for it, or other things could have happened. Who knows? But I think for big newspapers, so the likes of, it was BA who are one of the main 2 in Norway who broke it. For them to go all out and say, yeah, United are signing someone, they've got to have very good information when you're those likes. So I think hopefully something will happen, because I'd love to see Bo Risa in the league anyway. She's a great player and would really fit in that defensive role. She'd be great to have.
Excellent. So yeah, please follow Adam G Millington. So we're tagged all over social media anyway, so you'll find it as soon as you finish this video. Just want to spend the last 5 minutes and talking about Preston Heath, Adam. So basically, just like from the moment that you heard the news, when the news broke that there was coming to England and coming to Manchester United, to maybe where you could potentially see them next season. It's I know it could be absolutely anywhere. It's pretty much 50-50 across social media. Some fans think that they'll stay one more year, unfinished business. Also, not many clubs can afford both of them, from what I'm hearing. But then on the flip side, do they just want to go back home now where they can? So, and you just take it away now. You just talk about whatever you want to talk about, and Natalie, just jump in if you want to.
I'm trying to think. I think when it first happened, I saw it go on Twitter, and then I think Alex Ibaseta sort of messaged me and was sort of saying this is really massive, because she's followed so much NWSL and stuff, and just seeing the initial reaction to the first person who broke that thing. I think I was out on a walk or something, and I looked at my phone tweeted about it, got back sort of 10 minutes later and realized, okay, this has got hundreds of retweets already. This is massive, sort of the biggest transfer coup of the window, definitely. I think unlike the others, I think out of the transfers, I would say, in my opinion, I think Heath and Press are going to stay. That's not info that I've heard or anything, but it just seems so likely. Unlike, if you look at Mewis and Lavelle at City, Lavelle's never got started. So I think it will make sense for Lavelle to go back. Mewis is another one who knows. But Heath and Press seems to be really enjoying their time at United.
Yeah.
And another point is they've had their NWSL rights both traded to Racing Louisville, and I'm not sure whether they would want to go to Racing Louisville. It's now on a point of, because Louisville haven't received allocation money, for Heath and Press's next club, it's all based on whoever can tie him down on a contract. They're not going to somewhere because if they'd be going to Louisville for the set US salary. And I think United probably will have the bigger financial clout when it comes to that, to be able to pay them a good salary that they deserve compared to Louisville. I think, going out on a whim here, something like maybe staying at United until the Los Angeles NWSL franchise comes in. I could see that happening because they're both at the latter ends of their career, and off the top of my head are both from LA. So I think that would be the sort of thing, staying at United when Angel City start playing, sort of a end your career sort of thing back in the US, in LA. I can't see them going back to Louisville. That's my personal opinion. I think you'll have Press and Heath here to stay, but honestly, not heard anything. But I'd love to see them stay. And it's all just sort of the right signs, isn't it? You've got the allocation money, and the two of them really enjoy being at the club, which is the big difference, because you see signings, you sometimes don't see a big deal out of it, but you can tell from both of their social medias and the way that the clubs are doing it and how they're playing on the pitch as well, that they do really, really enjoy their time here. And they'd be so good to see, wouldn't they, staying at United?
Absolutely, yeah. And look, the show's coming towards an end now, so we could talk about Press and Heath all day long, and we will have a dedicated show with some American guests as well towards the end of the season. So if you're interested, if you're watching this and you're from America and you follow Press and Heath more than Manchester United, please, if you as long as you're respectful in your opinions, please just contact me or Nat or the channel and come on. We'll do audio. It doesn't need to be visual. If you're a little bit shy with that, it can be for 10 minutes. You could be on for the whole hour. So please just get in touch, because it is that time of the season now where we do want to focus a bit on Press and Heath for maybe their whereabouts next season. But Nat, just finish off for yourself on what Adam just said. Quite positive for a Man United fan to hear that.
Yeah, I think it is looking good. I can't see them going Racing Louis. Like what Adam said, I think they really are enjoying it. I think, both of them sort of said, if we'd had fans, and I don't know. I know people have sort of said in the comments, Champions League might have been a sway. I think if we had got Champions League, I mean, we still could, but if it was in our hands, maybe it might make it sooner. But I don't think they'll sign anything before, if they are going to sign, before the season's out. They'll be focusing, but I'm 100%. Let's, 5 cup finals, whatever, let's do that. And then, Casey's made it clear she wants them both to stay. So the fans make it clear that we want them to stay. I think they've heard great things. They're getting treated well. They're carrying to. The stars are aligning, but you don't want to jinx it. Let's just say that.
We are going to come to the end of the show, but Adam, I can't let you off the hook. Do you think we're going to make the top 3, or can you see Arsenal slipping up now, or it's definitely Arsenal?
Yeah, it's in Arsenal hands. I think Arsenal will probably edge it on goal difference, but you never know. Arsenal could slip up in one of their final few games. It'll be an interesting end to the season at the top and the bottom. But anyway, it's a pain to report on, having to rewrite your report at 80 minutes whenever someone scores a winner. Complete everything's league changing. That Lauren Hemp goal killed me in the press box.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Thank you, Adam, for coming on. Please come back on again whenever you're free. We'd love to have you even if it's like the end of the season, we can talk about anything. So thank you very much for coming on. I know the views and all the comments always like it when we have a journalist on or someone just with a different opinion. So thank you again for coming on. Thank you to everybody in the comments. Our next show will be on Monday. So long as Twitter Live is still working, because I know that Twitter and Periscope have kind of parted ways, I'm hearing. So we have to be a little bit mindful of that Twitter Live. So they may not be continuing much longer. However, because our new YouTube channel will be live very soon anyway, we will be doing, like I say, 4 or 5 videos a day on YouTube, 4 or 5 a week on YouTube. So that's it. Thank you to everybody for joining in, and hope you enjoy the match on Sunday against Brighton. See you all soon.